I created this website for Alex Homozy on his latest book launch using Framer, and in this tutorial I'll be showing how I was able to pull up this website using Spline, which is a 3D modeling tool, and Framer, a no-code platform. So without further ado, let's jump right in. For you to understand this tutorial very well, I'll be breaking it down into 4 parts. The first part will be looking on how I use Spline to create that laptop animation you saw a while ago. Then secondly, I'll be showing you possible steps to export and import this animation from Spline into Framer. Then thirdly, I'll be walking you through the basic structure of the design before we added the laptop scene. Then the last thing we'll be looking at is how to make that animation work using sticky screw and screw transform. So let's start with the first step, which is going to Spline. All the links we are going to be using in this tutorial will be in the description, so go ahead and check that out and you'll be able to access this Spline project I'm on. But in case if you don't know how to navigate through this project, you simply click the link. This is what you should be seeing. You can either remix through the remix button here or open file to access the file directly. Looking at everything here, I know you're already getting confused with all the lines and camera angles here, but don't worry, everything has actually been set up for you, because when we preview this you will see that the animation works. So you see when the laptop is opening. So what we are going to be doing here is to swap the images on the display of the MacBook. So I will show you right away on how you can switch images to anyone you want to choose as a display. But let me just walk you around through Spline so you can feel, kind of comfortable. So when selecting the 3D laptop, we can be able to change the direction of the camera angle. So if I wanted to go maybe to the right hand side, I would just have to rotate it like this, and when I preview it, you see that the animation will come from the side of the laptop. You can style this in any way you want. When you're doing yours, it's just a free word. You can be able to do anything. Moving to the part where I said I will show you guys on how to swap the display on the MacBook. When you go to the properties panel, you will see material assets. So you are going to click it and you will see image. We'll click the image and then you will see an upload button to upload an image to the display of the laptop. So let me simply go with this one that is available here, and in seconds you will see the new image has been changed. So by previewing this, you will now see the new image has appeared on the laptop screen. So that's all we do in this Spline project. So you just have to access the link in the description, then remix the display, then export. But I would like to ask, how do we actually get this full animation from Spline to Framer? It sounds like something impossible, but I'll be showing you ways on how you can. Series of ways are using getting this animation off of Spline into Framer. But the first step is to click, of course, the export button. The other exporting options you can use to export this animation. But do you know the one I went for? I went for the one of video recording as a format. Why didn't I go for a JPEG file or a PNG file? Let me explain everything here. So the reason why I didn't use a JPEG file is this. If I'm using a JPEG file as the exporting option, it's going to export the present state of this animation, not the full animation. Same thing happens for PNG. It's only going to export the present state of this laptop and not the full animation of when the laptop is opening. So that's why I didn't use a JPEG or a PNG as the format. So moving to the video recording I chose, what Framer is going to do is this. It's going to record the full animation of when the laptop is opening and possibly closing. Then after recording this, it's going to convert this video recording into image sequences. Now the only way we can get this into Framer is through images. Not any kind of images, but image sequences of the full animation of when the laptop is closing and opening. So this is the only way we can get this out of Spline into Framer, through image sequences of the whole animation. Moving to the exporting options, the format that we want it to be is in image sequences. The other exporting format here you can choose, but the one we are going for is for the image sequence. So the second thing here is the format of the image sequence we want. We want it in PNG, that's why I'm going for the one of PNG. The third setting here says FPS. So what is FPS? Let me quickly explain what that is. So what FPS does in our animation, it controls how smooth we want everything to play out. So if I go with a higher FPS of 60, the whole animation when we're exporting is going to be so smooth. Then if we are going with a lower FPS of maybe 15 or 24, It's not going to be really smooth as you're choosing an FPS of 60. But one thing to put in mind is this: the higher the FPS, the more the images sequences you receive when this file has been created. So choose wisely. But for this course, we are going to be going with the one of 60. So the time is set to manual. Okay, I'm not really a Spline expert, so all these settings here, I don't really know what it is. The first setting is actually okay to go. All you have to do here is just to click the start button and to lead you to the preview version of the laptop. So everything we are going to be doing is to press the record button. When we press that record button, it's going to start the animation afresh. Then when the animation ends, we just click the stop button. So what are you waiting for? Let's just dive right in. So I'll be pressing the record button and wait, then stop. So by pressing stop, automatically it will create those image sequences as you can see on the download. Let me just check my download. So you can now see the MacBook animation we created just now. So if we were to access this file, you see that everything is numbered from 00 to 001 to 002. So if we were to access the one of the fifth image, you see the laptop is still closed on this state. But if we were to go down to like the ninth one, you see it's fully opened on this place, and let's just go with the one of 6. You will just see that the whole thing that we are having here is the full animation in images. But I have one question, actually a problem, not a question. So if I should preview this, the laptop scene, you'll notice something, that what we actually want to make use of is just the laptop, but you can see the large frame that the laptop is wrapped in. So what we are going to be doing is to crop the laptop to its size, because what we want to use in Framer is actually just the laptop and not this full PNG file. Another thing is this: if we were to crop this individually, you will notice something, that our animation will be so staggered because we will not have the same height and width, which will create a very staggered animation when we get to Framer. So how do we like bulk edit this? So there's actually a tool you can use to crop everything at once. So the name of this tool is called bulk edit, just as the name. So this link will be in the description as well, so you just have to run this. This is where we select the file that Spline created for us. I will select everything from 00 to the last image, which we are just having 20 images, then open. Next up, we click the manual crop, and you will see something like this, that we have to pay $29 to use this tool. But the thing is that we all know we don't have $29 to, pay these people to bulk crop these images. So what's one way you can bypass this stuff? There's actually a way you can do this. So just copy the link here, Ctrl C. So I'll open an incognito file. By using this incognito tab, it's going to run this stuff without knowing where the searches is coming from. So I hope this works. Let's just run it again. So select the file from 00 to the 20th one, open, select manual crop, and voila, it actually worked. So this is one thing I discovered when creating mine. Then next up, we'll be clicking this lock movement. So when we checkbox this, it's going to, when we are cropping one, it will apply to all images. What we are going to be doing now is to carefully crop this to the size of the laptop. So just crop this here. You can actually zoom in, crop one, then go to this side and crop this one here. The one from below, you crop it. Then from the top, you have to crop that in. Just be careful because there are other open scenes of this laptop. So just go down to where the laptop is open. As you can see here, that actually cut some parts that we want. So let's quickly rearrange this. Zoom in. And I think we are good to roll. So when you make sure that everything has been cut to the exact size of the laptop, you just click the crop and to download a file for you to your gallery. Now we have converted the laptop animation from Spline into image sequences. Let's now import them into Framer to play as one animation. But how are you going to do that? So it's a very easy process, but before that, let me walk you through my basic structure of what I have here. You can see we have this plain text, this is a group text, this 100M money model is on the same stack. Then if you're wondering again how I created this gradient background that is plain on the hero section, is a very simple process using this component. So if you check the remix link in the description, you can go to the asset panel. You just have to copy this particular component called animated background. So check the remix link in the description so you can be able to copy this component. It's actually a component, nothing much. Once you do this and you paste it on your design, let's just do this. You can see that this is the one I just pasted. Then if I wanted to fill everything else, I will have to use absolute position by placing all pins to 0 on the properties panel. Just activate all pins and set them to 0. So I will activate the last one and set it to 0 also. Then in this way, to now fill the overall space that you want this animated background to play. And again, you can actually play with other presets animated background that we have on the properties panel of the component. So the one presently is called prism. We also have lava and plasma. I think the one I use is plus. So this is it here. That's how I got this animated background. You can control the speed of how fast you want it to play. Preview, yes. So you can see it's very fast, which is looking more like a distraction. So you can reduce the speed to something slower to make everything look nice. So we are done with the hero section. Moving to the second part, which some of you might also be wondering, was how I added a video to the background of this second section. So again, like I always say, it's a very simple process. You simply go back, go to the insert menu and search for, I think it's in media. So go down to media and you will see this video component. Again, just drag it and drop it on your design. So the same way I added absolute position and set all the pins to 0, that's the same way you will set this video component. After you do that, let me just show you. So just set all the pins to 0 here, 0 here, 0 on the left, right, sorry, and 0. So in this way, it's not filling everything else. This is where you can now add the video component or the video file you want to add. So you can just set and upload and choose the file you want to upload on the component. Then again, you will notice something on the one I created, that there's this radial background blur that is kind of circling the image component. Okay, this is it outside of it. Thank God it pulled out by itself. So you can see it's just a frame that I added a radial gradient. So if I select the fill, so it's a two color thing I use here. So one, that the opacity is set to 100, which is the black one around. Then the one that is at the center, which was still a black color, but the opacity down here is set to 0. So when I raise the opacity to 100, you will see that I won't have that empty space that is meant for the overlay video to show. So that is everything about the video. So if you don't know how to do that, you just have to F out a frame, create a frame like this, then you fill it up. Let's just go with black here. Then set a radial gradient to it. Then you set just the second column to 0, and that's just it. You just have to overlay this on your design. Moving to the sweet part on how we make this animation that we created in Spline to work in Framer. So we don't just import those images we have bump cropped. There's actually a component that we use to load all these images to play as one animation. So you will see this in the remix link. When you remix the project, go to the asset panel and you will see this scroll media component. So you are going to drag it and paste it. So by using this component, it's going to allow us to import those images not to the design but to the component to load as one animation. For us to use this component on our hero section, we have to wrap it on its own frame. So we are going to be creating a frame. Hit F on your keyboard, drag out a frame, then you hit Ctrl X to cut, then you select the hero section and hit Ctrl and V. The behavior of this frame I added is controlled by the hero section, because if I should use my arrow key to shift it up or down, you will see it works. But what we want is to make it fill everything else, and we don't have that access since it's controlled by the hero section. So we are going to use, of course, absolute position to place it to fill the whole hero section. So go to the properties panel and change it to absolute, and I'll set all pins. Let me first activate them. I'll set all pins to 0. So set the down one 0, the left 0, and of course the top set to 0. So in this way, it's not filling everything else. So this is where we can now add the scroll media component. But before that, let's turn this frame into a stack. So go to the properties change it into a stack, and of course I'll be removing the fill column. We'll be renaming this as scroll holder. On the stack setting of the scroll holder, we are going to change the direction to vertical because I want this scroll media component to stay at a vertical format. So you select the scroll media component, Ctrl X to cut it, and make sure you select the scroll holder and not the hero section. So this is where you then Ctrl V to paste it. As you can see, the scroll media component is at the center of our hero section. But do you remember that this is the component I want to use to keep those laptop scenes? So it's not supposed to be at the center of the frame, but rather I want those laptop sequences to be fixed at the bottom of our hero section. So we change the distribute of the scroll holder from center to end. So it's going to be fixed at the bottom of the hero section. So we're making progress. Next up, for this component, I'm going to be setting the width to fill width. So let's just do this. And for the height of it, I will just raise it up to somewhere around here. On the property settings of this scroll component, you can just scroll down here. This is where we then add all the images that we have bumped cropped. So we are going to add the first one. So choose the image. So we'll be starting with the first one, which is the 000. So select that, open it. You can also set the resolution to large so that the image can remain clear. So going back, we are going to add another one. So add, choose an image. You go with the first one. So this is going to waste, this is a very long process, so I'm going to be very fast on this so that we can get to the juicy part of how this animation would work. So I'm about to upload the 15th image, and I noticed something, that from this 16 down to the last image, which is 20, they're actually the same image sequence. So do you think there's any need to upload them to this component? I don't think so, because they have the same image sequence. So I'm going to stop at 15. So let me just open this last image, then set the resolution to large. So in total, I've uploaded 17 image sequences to this component. So on the settings of this component, we are going to set the media fit to contain so that we can be able to see the laptop on our design. So for the start setting, I'll change it to center here. Moving down to this setting which says length, this controls how fast or how slow you want this laptop animation to play. So I'll walk you guys through on how to use that later. The only thing on our mind right now is to know if this component or whatever we have done right now is working. The only way to know that is to preview it. Let me scroll down a bit and we see it's not working. So where could this problem be coming from? Because we have done our possible best to use this component to create this animation, but it's not just working, because it's supposed to be opening as we're making a scroll, but it's not working. I think I know where the problem is coming from actually. Going to that folder that we cropped the images, you will notice something here that almost from 00 to like 003 are having the same image sequences. So that's why when we're making a scroll, we're scrolling up to this point, and when the laptop is supposed to open, we have scrolled out of section. So what we are going to do is to go back to the component and delete, like, I think 3 images from the top. So I'm going to clear out one, remove, then we clear out the second one, remove, and the third one. You can also remove this. So if we should remove 3 images from here, we still have 1, 2 to start the animation. So let's head back to Framer and check if this will work right now. So the moment of truth, let's make a scroll, and okay, it's working in a way though, because when we're previewing it the first time, we're not seeing the scene of when the laptop is opening. So there's actually progress, but we can make it better. But going to the main design I created, let's go to the first page and we preview this. You will notice that the laptop is fixed at one position. The only thing swinging up is just the display of the laptop, but in ours it was like scrolling out of section. So we are going to use sticky scroll to keep this laptop in a fixed position while it's displaying our animation. For us to add a sticky scroll to this laptop component, we have to wrap the hero section in another stack. So select the hero section using the shortcut Ctrl Alt Enter, or you select that through the properties menu. We are going to rename this as sticky holder. On the stack setting of this new frame we just brought out, we are going to change the direction to vertical and change the distribute to start. Moving over to the sizing options here, we will be going with a fixed height. Let's just go with 3000 and hit enter. So this 3000 that we just brought out as the height, that is this empty space here, will serve as a scrolling point for this laptop when we set it to a sticky position. Next up, we select the hero section and we are going to be changing it from relative to sticky. If you have been using sticky position for some while before now, you will notice that for us to make a sticky position to work, you have to set all parent frame to overflow visible. But not anymore, because overflow visible was having some complications when it wasn't containing all our design elements when we set it to overflow visible. But Framer made a new adjustment by introducing overflow clip. So overflow clip helps us to contain the element when we set it to sticky position. And you know the best part about this is that when we set a frame to a sticky position, automatically all the parent frame will be set to overflow clip. So no need to go ahead and start locating the parent frame that we used to and set it to overflow clip or overflow visible. But let's just double check that if all the parent frame here are set to overflow clip. So the parent frame of this hero section is this sticky holder that we created a while ago. Then let's check the properties menu, head down to clip, and you will see that the overflow here is set to clip. The second parent frame or the overall parent frame here is the main desktop. So by selecting that, you will see the overflow is set to clip. So let's go through the hero section to check if this actually worked. So let me do this and you see it worked, but you will notice one thing. I don't know if you can feel it through this recording, that I'm using much energy to scroll through this laptop. So it's taking me a long while and a lot of energy to scroll through this laptop. And you viewing it or you being a visitor to this website, you will see that you will get tired trying to scroll through these laptop components. So this is what I will show you on how you can actually reduce the energy being used in scrolling through this laptop. So head back to the components, choose the scroll media component. I'll be reducing the length from this 5000 to like 900, and the offset we are going to change it to 1800 pixels. So let's preview this one more time so you can see the difference between what we just did. And you will now see I'm using, like, it's moving so smooth now compared to when I had to like scroll and scroll for the laptop to open. You'll notice that that 3000 that we set as a height is serving as a scrolling point for this laptop, and when the 3000 has been exhausted, it scrolls into the second section. But we are not yet done, because if I go to the main design I created, so by previewing what I did here on the main design, when I'm trying to scroll through this hero section, you will notice one thing, that the text is scaling in into the background when the laptop is opening up. So I'm going to show you right away on how you can achieve this using a scroll trigger that will trigger a scroll transform for this text to scale in. Okay, this might sound like a very big word, but it's actually easy. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'll bring out an ordinary frame that when it comes in contact with the hero section, it will trigger a scroll transform for the text to scale in into the background. Okay, enough of the theory, let's go into the practical. So to set a trigger, we are going to bring out a frame. So just drag out something like this and set the width to fit width. The height here is actually okay, it doesn't matter. Next up, we'll be removing the fill color because we don't want it to interfere with our hero section. Okay, but wait, on the second thought, let me show you the action or the role that this frame plays when we set it as a trigger. Let me bring back the fill color. The next thing we'll be doing here is to set a scroll section. So click the plus here and I'm going to rename this as trigger frame. On the last panel, you'll see it's carrying this hash sign here. So it's quickly telling us that this frame here that we selected has been transformed into a scroll section. So since in this text we want to apply a scroll transform, we are going to select the stack that is wrapping the entire text on the hero section. We'll be going over to the properties menu and select effect. We'll be going with scroll transform. You open the setting of the scroll transform. Let's just drag this up here. So the trigger that we are going to set it to will be section in view. So what this section in view means is this, that when this frame that we set as a trigger comes in contact with the hero section, is going to activate the scroll transform to work. For the viewport is where you want this trigger to come in. So you can either set it to top, center, or bottom, but by default it's set to bottom, which is what we want. For the section, this is where we select the frame that we turn into a scroll section. So we select the trigger frame. Let's now move on into the part where we animate this text to scale into the background when the laptop is opening up. So from the from state, we are going to select this and change the opacity to 1 and the scale to 1. So what we are more concerned is the to state, what happens after. So from the to state, we are going to select the opacity and change it down to 0. And for the scale, this is where we actually set a scaling value that we want. So I will be going with a scale value of 0.7 if that's not too much. So 0.7 is okay to roll. So let's preview this. By making a scroll, you will notice that when the frame we created as a trigger comes in contact with the hero section, which is a section in view, it's going to activate the scroll transform to make the text scaling. So when it comes in contact with it, this is what you actually see. So let's remove the fill color so we can have a better view of this stuff. So just remove the fill color here. And by previewing this one more time, you'll notice that when we make a scroll, the text scales in perfectly. So you see how easy it is to bring out a trigger that will activate a scroll transform when we want to animate some certain things. So this is everything about this tutorial on how I achieve this laptop animation right on Spline into Framer, and through the process of how we bypassed that $25 that we're supposed to pay as the bunk fee. But that is it for this tutorial. If you want to see more tutorials like this, click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comment section what you want to see next on this channel. So until next time, keep designing.